What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with a Flock of Seagulls, and I do want to apologize to any Seagulls fans out there. It's been a couple weeks, maybe even a little bit more than that. I do apologize. I'll just keep saying it. The amount of deep dives I'm doing continues to expand, and I mentioned it in another reaction earlier in this session. In the last week alone, I've gotten a crazy amount of material, both through physical media and through people sending me rips of things, so we'll go through everything. It's just going to take a while, and again, the number of deep dives means it'll just take a little bit longer to get around to a lot of things, so I have not forgotten about a Flock of Seagulls, and we will continue to go through their material, although in the moment, I'm not sure what else I have available. I think Han Solo, who's provided the material up till now, I think it's just those two albums in there, so ultimately, we'll see what happens. Again, it seems like more and more people become part of the channel. If one person doesn't have something, someone else has it, or some person has a single version that another person who shared with me might not have, so either way, I'm looking forward to finishing this album. So the final track is called The Final Flight of Yuri Gagarin. Yuri Gagarin, as I'm sure many of you will know, arguably the most famous cosmonaut and one of the most famous people in the history of space flight and human endeavors in space. Indeed, the very first human to go into space on a manned, crewed space flight. It was his only space flight, so far as I know. So what we're going to hear here, I do not think is related to his trip into space. However, landmark and historical it was, and significant a technological achievement. He died in a conventional aircraft. I forget how much longer. It was like maybe a year or two later. It wasn't that much longer. It was like late 60s. And yeah, I believe he and his flight instructor both crashed in a MiG aircraft. So my assumption, based on the title, is that this would be in relation to his, final flight in multiple respects. So yeah, I expect it to maybe have a bit more of a intense, maybe dire or otherwise, impactful feeling. If it were about his space flight and the first human to break atmosphere and to go up into human or Earth orbit as a human, I would feel like maybe it would be more buoyant. It might even have a triumphant feel at some point. But again, if I'm reading the title right, this is about his final flight and death. So I expect it to be more intense and perhaps frenetic or frantic. So let's find out. This is a Flock of Seagulls. The tune is the Final Flight of Yuri Gagarin, and I believe it's a bonus tune included in an expanded folder for the 1983. Suddenly I'm second guessing myself, again, partially because it has been a little hot moment, if you will, so give me one moment to check. And listen, yes, 1983. So again, I don't know exactly when this tune was composed and if it was before or after the album was released, but It's Not Me Talking was the final track on the proper version of the album. In any case, here we go, A Flock of Seagulls, The Last Flight of Yuri Gagarin. Oh, wow. Chaotic, unclear, deep and heavy. I mean, this is great. The low end of this tune. That was fantastic. the aircraft. Veered uncontrollably. Engines giving out. I don't know the full circumstances of the crash. I just remember reading that's how he died. That pulsing bass, it goes to a lighter frame and then a heavier frame. Vocals, maybe. Worried about that low end. Very digital, bleepy. Like the gauges are reading like they're not reading properly because the mechanical error. It's terrifying knowing the context. piece. That's one of my favorites from them, and there wasn't even a single word in the tune, and there didn't have to be. Like, you know, I may be reading some of the moments differently than they envisioned, but honestly, like, there's a whole story there, knowing the context, and they tell you the context straight away. So anyone who didn't know what the phrase might mean, you know, could easily, certainly these days, even in the 80s, I feel like, you know, Yuri Gagarin's death would have been less than, or, you know, under 2 decades before this. So it would have been something that I think many people, you know, will have known what this was about. So amazing the way you can tell a story with sonics, and, you know, different aspects, like the rhythm of the sonics, different characteristics of the particular parts, as well as that brutal and tragic end. So yeah, a really well crafted tune. Again, you know, I like the tunes where they sing, but that is one of my favorites, even though there wasn't any singing in it. So again, that's the last track in the folder, so we'll see what the next step is. Again, I'm sure there won't be a problem. I know they didn't, you know, they're not around as long as some other groups, but either way, I don't think this is the end. In fact, I think someone even commented before that there's at least a little more material. So in any case, do let me know what you think of this one. I will see you next time. Peace.